Hello and welcome to number 2 of the Akashic Love Field, the podcast where I agenda share and share all things about the Akashic, life, creativity, and the soul. I want to talk more about the Akashic Love Field and what it is and how this idea of our soul and our spirit draws us in and gives us opportunities. Because in this expanse where love holds all things together, all things exist. Fear, disempowerment, breaking down, distrust, all emotions, all experiences live here in each of us. We have a record in the field, in the Akashic Love Field. We have our soul's record. And this record allows us to access knowledge, wisdom about ourselves that we have forgotten or didn't even realize. So, patterns, um, experiences. We come into this world as babies already with something inside us, with an idea of what we're going to achieve. But when we come into the world as a human being, we are bombarded with a sensation. If you can just think about it, from spirit, where you're moving around and you can experience things, but you don't have a body. And you come into a world where it's very noisy. There's all these people wanting something. Like when you're a baby, all these people wanting you to solve their problems. Oh, having this baby is this greatest dream. It's going to change my life. And now suddenly you have to perform or behave, and people are telling you what your emotions mean and how you're responsible for how they feel and all of these things. And some of us choose to believe that we need to, become people pleasers and do what we're told. Others, we believe we need to rebel. Some of us want to bully others, and some of us want to, stand up to the bullies. There are all these different options that we choose, and we also might bring in energy from the past, from a past life. We could bring in energy from our family, our ancestral line, our collective line. We belong to a group, and they traditionally have a history of something that's been done that they hold in their cells, and now we hold it in ourselves. Perhaps our mother and grandmother and great grandmother suffered from depression because they were told to work hard. They didn't have enough food. They were told they were no good. When they wanted to be creative or spiritual, they were denied that. They were held back from expressing who they are. And so we come in and we might take on their depression. We might take on the weight of the world. We might believe that we have to save the world, that we're responsible for how people behave, and that we have to do something different. Maybe we believe that we're stupid, or we're too much or too little or not enough. It's like all those things, we're like a what's her name? Goldilocks, right? We're going into this house and we're looking for the right size chair and the right food and the right bed so we can figure out, like, hey, who am I? How do I fit in here? And most of us decide that how to fit in and what's ours based on what other people tell us or how we filter in a story. So we have an experience creates an issue in our body, a trauma, because we are subject to something that doesn't feel true to us. and it causes us to hold this energy somewhere in our body. So this can cause pain, it can cause illness, it can cause restriction and limitations, and just so many things because we're holding it in our bodies. And most of us live our lives from that place. When we had an experience, something happened, it's like our body kind of stopped, like it went into shock. It stopped. We didn't release the shock, and so we're building our container about who we are based on all of these experiences that shock us into change and shame and different things, right? So we become these fighters, or we become these retreaters. We get all these things based on experiences we have or stories we're told, all of those things, and we believe it and becomes our reality. When we believe something, regardless of whether we're shown proof that it's not true, it doesn't matter until we have an experience that awakens us and we go, oh my God, that's not true, or oh, I can do something different. So what the Akashic Love Field does is it not only can it answer the questions, because it's a place where we bring questions. It's a divination field. It can bring us answers. And the answers and the depth of them depend on the question. Like, how deep are we willing to go? Sometimes people ask questions that are very surface. When will I meet the love of my life? Like, we're thinking someone outside there. If I have that baby, if I have that money, if I have that job, if I have that title, suddenly I'll be worthy of whatever it is. And that's because this is how we've been conditioned, that we've been told something so many times that we believe it's true, regardless of whether we see somebody else who has something different. Because we'll go, oh, because you're different. That's why. You had a different life experience. You were lucky, right? I'm not like you. We have all these conditions because we can't believe it can be something about us that we don't know about ourselves that's stopping us. And this is what the Akashic Love Field provides. It provides an awareness of we are more than we think we are. And there are so many ways to discover who we are and how to express ourselves. How I got into all of this, I want to share this, is that I was very creative and, my mind out there, always like the odd, weird kid. And when I did get married and do all those things, as I kept going, I became very introverted and shy. And I didn't know how to be myself. Like I was sure that I couldn't be me. I wasn't allowed to be me. Being an artist, when I was a kid, I was told, artists don't make money. Don't be an artist. Be something useful. I pattern my life and being useful, contributing. How can I help other people? How can I do something, become useful? And I forgot all about myself. And it got really bad. And I went through this dark, dark depression. And I just was like, okay, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be here anymore because this is so painful. However, I have a daughter and I decided she still needed me, so I wouldn't opt out. I'll still be useful. The good thing about this awful, awful time that I went through, where I lost my voice, my capacity, my energy, everything went black, was that I started coming back and I started to hear a voice. It's interesting because I'd always heard voices from when I was a child, but I thought it was me, and through this process, I discovered something called the Akashic Records, and that it wasn't me, the voice, my voice and my brilliance, it was my Akashic masters that were talking to me. So all the time I was like, wow, I'm so brilliant. Uh, but how can I be this brilliant person and somebody who doesn't look like anything on the outside, right? Or certainly not how I want it to look. Other people saw me very differently. And the thing that dropped in for me was follow the signs because I had stopped following signs. I had just like, I know better because, I'm just going to make sure I'm safe and I do the right thing. Now I'm going to follow the signs. And I followed the signs, and these signs took me out of that place of depression. It took me into feeling myself again and discovering something called the Akashic Records. And when I discovered this Akashic Records thing, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then a woman came into my life who read the Akashic Records. And so I had my records read, and immediately after the reading, I was like, oh my God, whatever this is, I want this, right? I'm going to do this. And she was offering a class. So I went and signed up for the class, and I just did all these things for myself because I really needed something to give me a sense of myself, to bring me back inside of myself so I could, what we call, remember. And when we use the word remember, we're talking about remembering. So we're actually reactivating the cells, the memory in our bodies, in our blueprints, the soul of who we are and what is true, right? And that separates us from what other people have told us is true, what systems have told us is true, what society has told us is true, what this sort of narrow way we've lived. And so in the Akashic Records, we have this opportunity to be expanded through our questions, through our curiosity, through our exploration. And me, I discovered the thing about myself that I discovered through connecting to the Akashic, through the Akashic love field and doing all the things I did to explore my creativity, created these amazing cards called the Illuminating Journey cards in there. I became a teacher and all these things I discovered. I have these healing, I'm a healing facilitator and it's very powerful. I knew nothing about this about myself, except that I wanted to be an artist. And I've come back to that place of being who I am through the Akashic love field. And the reason it became easy was because I realized I am loved in this place. I am so loved, regardless of what I choose. If I make a good decision or I make a bad decision, I am loved, I am held, I am supported. I'm always exactly right. I found my right seat. I found my right food, my right bed, bread, whatever. I'm here. I've landed in myself. And so even if I have moments where I'm not sure, I always remember and come back to this space, to the vastness of the love that is held here in the Akashic records, in the Akashic love field that allows me to, at my own pace, become more of who I am, see more of who I am, own more of who I am in a way that is totally aligned to me. I don't have to behave like someone else. I don't have to believe like Sandy. I don't have to act like Benny. I don't have to do any of those things. I can just be me, Jen, this wholeness of Jen on every level and own that. And through that owning, recognize I want to create more. I want to speak more. I want to be more of who I am. because so much of my life in this life and many lifetimes before, I haven't expressed who I am fully. I've stood back. I've let the world tell me who I am and what my position is. And with the guidance of the Akashic records, I have chosen to allow me, the soul of me, the one who's named Jen here, to choose me first. What the Akashic love field says is that by us choosing ourselves first, like knowing who we are, giving sustenance to that, right? The essence of myself through the power of love, I am more easily, I'm trying to translate this. It is easier for me to be at peace with being in a world of other people, being part of a collective, because I'm not having to deny my voice or deny my needs in order to belong. I belong because I know who I am, right? I belong because I am here and I see myself as an essential piece, just like a piece of the puzzle or a drop of water in the ocean. Every drop counts because together they make the ocean. But if you took out a bunch of drops because you said, well, they don't matter and who cares about them and they've got nothing to contribute, well, the ocean would shrink. It would have less power. So it's recognizing when you recognize the power within you, when you choose to be self-centered. And I use those words on purpose because we have these identities that have been given to us that if we are selfish or self-centered, and everyone has their own version of what that means, it means we're not thinking about other people and we are a bad person. But in truth, when we are self-centered, it means we are centered in ourselves. We are self-ish. We are ishing inward so that we can truly know ourselves and we can be kind to ourselves. And therefore, we can be kind to others. We can recognize, not everyone will agree with us, and they don't have to, that people speak badly about us when we are a threat to them, but they really are. It's like that thing when you point one finger at somebody, there are three fingers pointing back at you. They're really saying, I'm terrified of you stepping into being centered in yourself and being ished by self, recognizing you're an individual. And your power of knowing gives you so much strength to be part of the collective. And this is the intensity and the beauty and the possibility that is held in the Akashic records, in the Akashic love field. I'm going to talk more about this, but I'm going to stop now, and I'll see you next time.